One of the things about being a dad can be, well, it's difficult to have a demanding job and still spend time with your family. I want to check in with one man that knows what that's like because he's got a fairly demanding job. He's responsible for a whole province on top of his wife and 3 kids. Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall joins me now from Regina. Premier, good to see you, sir, and happy Father's Day ahead of time to you.
Thanks. Same to you, Brian.
All right. You have 3 children, and they don't live in town with you, do they?
Well, 2 of them, we live in Swift Current. Tammy and I, we did not relocate to the capital of Regina, so I commute back and forth. And obviously, when I started the job, our kids were of an age where we were all together. But since then, our oldest, Megan, has gone off to university, and so she's home with us for the summer, which makes me kind of happy. But she's going into 3rd year, so we're now back to being 5 plus our neurotic border collie. But yeah, you're right. We've seen one, our eldest, go off to university, and so we're 4 at home right now.
Okay, so you've got a pretty important job in the province, I would say. I'm going to guess that the hours can be long, the time can be demanding. How tough is that when, especially, you've got to commute? You commute back to Swift Current most nights, don't you?
Most nights I do, and of course when the session's in, that's important. So Monday, Tuesday night commuting, Wednesday stay in Regina, Thursday we have a morning sitting of the legislature, Friday is a constituency day, and then when the session's not sitting, you can really base yourself out of Swift Current, and get around the province. We mostly drive. The odd occasion will fly when we're going to more remote parts, but it's when I first ran for politics in 1999, I talked to a couple who I knew well, who started in politics with a young family, and they both gave me the same advice, independent of each other. My concern was I wanted to be a good dad and a good husband. We all do, and they both said the same thing, even though it wasn't a meeting where we were all together. They said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but they basically said, look, your family will always be in competition and must win the competition over your vocation or your avocation, and it's a matter of will, and it's true in politics, even though the distances are a little longer, perhaps in my case. But people in the business world and other walks of life, people in healthcare, people in literally all throughout the public and private sector strike the right balance or have to strike the right balance, and they both advised me the same thing. You're going to miss a few ball games, maybe a few recitals, but if you try hard, if it's a priority, you'll get to more, as many as might be considered to be a good thing and more than you think. All
right. Does that change your attitude in how you deal with your own staff and in how you deal with people in the employ of the province when you know that personally the time demands of having a family life and that it is so important to you? Because not that I don't want to say people that skip all those things don't see it as important, but well, they don't see being there as important as being on the job. You've decided it's important to be home. Does that change how you deal with staff?
Well, first of all, this is a great question. I think in any workplace, if the leadership in that particular place of work sets, it's not just an example necessarily, but sends the right message. For example, when I was first elected in 1999, I remember very clearly I think it was the 2nd caucus meeting I was ever at, and the whip for our caucus, a fellow by the name of Bob Benrod, a great guy, one of the founders of our party. He was our agriculture minister for the first 5 years or so, and he's announced he's not seeking re-election. But Bob Benrod, as the whip, said, in this organization, family's number 1. You need my permission to be out of the legislature when we're sitting for anything, except if you have a family issue that you have to attend to and you just can't get to me, just go, and we'll work it all out later. That sent a very clear signal to me that that's the kind of organization the Saskatchewan Party Caucus was then, and we want to continue it and work hard to continue it through years in opposition and now in government. So I think those signals can be sent in every workplace, and if the signals are sent, and those of us who we work with, our colleagues and peers, know that, well, this is a priority, and everyone around me understands it's a priority, I think it's going to make it easier to commute back, to spend time with family, to go to all the things that we could possibly go to support our kids, and in my case, to support my wife, who is amazing, putting up with all that she puts up with.
Well, I hear you there, and some days I don't know how she does it, and then some days I'm not sure how I show up for anything at all. But do you have advice for young fathers then? And I'm asking because, well, I need it. That balance. mothers often talk about juggling work-family life, and you hear women talk about that a lot. Men just mostly say, well, I'll get it done. I got to figure it out. But we don't often trade stories of, well, what works, what doesn't. Do you have any advice?
You know, I am too imperfect a father and husband to give anybody advice, to presume to give anyone advice. But I would just pass along what I have a great dad who gave me advice, and then, as I've said, I've got advice from others even before deciding to run for politics, and it's all very similar. You know, we all understand, even though it's hard to sometimes understand the fact that notwithstanding however urgent our job seems to be at the moment, there are things that will last well beyond whatever our current vocation is, whatever business we're involved in. There are things that literally are transcendent. They're going to that are going to be generational. And if we can keep that perspective, and then I remember the advice I got, which was, you're not going to get to everything you want to, but if you work at it, if you will it, if you make it a priority, you'll get to more than you think.
Yeah.
And support a family, I think those two things are powerful, that form a powerful combination.
All right, your kids are a bit older now, so you're not going to get ill-formed pancakes and burnt toast in bed for breakfast, although I'm sure you probably had mornings like that. How do you plan on celebrating Father's Day this year?
Well, we're going to, we'll do the same thing we do every year. Our son, who's the middle child, he's in grade 12 going to university next year, but he's got a job in radio, actually, in broadcasting. Means he works on Sunday. So the rest of us will go to church, and then we'll probably before going, or if we don't get to it afterwards, we'll have a bit of there'll be cards, and I'm hoping, Canadian Tire gift cards or something that I hint at. I have a 1967 midlife crisis in the garage that needs a lot of work and cleaning, and so that's a fun thing I do, and we just kind of spend some time together. This year, we're heading off in the evening on Father's Day. The Western Premier's Conference is in Winnipeg, so we got to sneak away a bit early, which I regret a bit, but we'll spend the day together and we'll have a lot of fun.
All right, sounds like a fine way to spend Father's Day. Thanks so much for making time in your busy schedule. Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall. Talk to you again, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate this. Thanks.